Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. She didn't leave because he was bad, she left because he was absent while present, and that's worse. Sigma males don't break hearts the usual way. They don't cheat, lie, or blow up your phone at 3 a.m. No, they pull a quieter move, the kind that leaves a woman wondering if she was ever really there to begin with. He didn't push her away, he just didn't pull her close enough. Psychology today reports that emotional unavailability is one of the top hidden deal breakers in modern relationships. And Sigma males unknowingly walk that tightrope in designer boots. Stoic? Yes. Mysterious? Absolutely. But also, occasionally about as emotionally responsive as a houseplant on airplane mode. The truth is, women aren't leaving because they can't have him. They're leaving because they never really got him. And eventually, decoding silence starts to feel like emotional self-harm. So if you think Sigma males are untouchable gods of attraction, think again. There's a flip side to the mystique. And it's why women slowly, quietly, and permanently lose interest. Stick around because we're about to dive deep. No sugarcoating, no recycled cliches. Just raw, brutally honest truths about why the silent kings get left unread. Number one, his lack of jealousy feels like lack of desire. He doesn't get jealous. At first, that seems like a green flag. He's confident, secure, and not the type to spiral into petty arguments because another guy glanced at her. That's attractive. Until it starts to feel like he just doesn't care. She could flirt with someone in front of him, talk about another man's attention, or post a photo that would send most guys into passive-aggressive chaos. And he doesn't flinch, not even a raised eyebrow. And while that kind of emotional control might seem like maturity, it quickly starts reading like emotional disinterest. Women don't want drama, but they do want evidence of desire. A man who's into her should show some reaction when there's a potential threat to their bond, even if it's subtle. Not because she wants a possessive lunatic, but because it proves she still holds a certain weight in his world. But with the Sigma male, she's met with the emotional equivalent of a shrug. He's mastered the art of detachment so well that it starts feeling like she could be replaced by a cactus, and he'd sleep the same. It's not about wanting him to be jealous, it's about wanting to feel chosen. When he doesn't even blink at the idea of someone else wanting her, she starts questioning if he ever really wanted her to begin with. That absence of reaction builds a slow resentment. She begins noticing how he's quick to protect his peace, his space, his solitude, but not her, not them. And suddenly, she's no longer flattered by his calm. She's annoyed by his passivity. She tests him, throws subtle provocations just to get something out of him. A hint of possessiveness, a flicker of intensity, anything that makes her feel like she matters, but he stays the same. Emotionally consistent, distant, grounded, and slowly slipping out of reach. She realizes she's craving a connection that can breathe, not one that sits frozen under the weight of his emotional stillness. And when she finally walks away, he might not chase, he might not fight, he might just nod, say take care, and go back to sipping his black coffee like nothing happened. That's when she knows the absence of jealousy wasn't strength, it was a lack of emotional investment. And that's the kind of silence no woman wants to compete with. Number two, she can't compete with his peace. He treats peace like a prized possession, not a mood, but a lifestyle. He protects it with monk-level discipline, no noise, no chaos, no emotional turbulence. At first, it's magnetic. She's drawn to how centered he is, how unfazed by drama, how he doesn't need anyone to feel whole. But the longer she's with him, the more she starts to realize he's not just avoiding conflict, he's avoiding her. Every time she brings up a problem, he shuts it down with silence or a calm, dismissive tone that makes her feel irrational for even caring. If she gets emotional, he gets quiet. If she wants deeper connection, he gets distant. She tries to engage, to pull him in, to make him feel something. But he's too wrapped up in protecting his peace. And after a while, she starts to feel like a walking disturbance. She becomes hyper-aware of her every mood, overthinks before she speaks, holds back when she's hurting, because anything too loud, too demanding, too real gets interpreted as a threat to his inner calm. It's exhausting. She's not a chaotic person. She just wants to feel like she's allowed to be human. But in his world, anything that shakes the surface is quietly pushed to the edge. That's when the realization hits. She's not in a partnership. She's in a museum. Everything has to stay still and perfectly balanced, or it doesn't belong. And she knows she'll never win that battle because she's not fighting another woman. She's competing with his solitude, his silence, his perfectly curated peace. And no matter how much he says he loves her, his actions keep proving that nothing, not even her, comes before his personal stillness. So she stops trying, stops explaining, stops asking for space in a life that was never really designed to include her. And when she walks away, she does it the same way he's always operated, quietly. Because now she understands she was never welcome to stay. Not unless she stayed small, soft, silent. And she was never built for that kind of life. Number 3, she's tired of feeling like a phase. With a Sigma male, everything feels temporary, even when he's physically present. He might be loyal, consistent, and respectful, but there's this strange detachment in the way he holds the relationship. He doesn't lean in, he doesn't build with her. It's like she's tagging along while he moves through his next chapter of self-improvement, like a side character in a story that was never about them. She starts noticing that most of their conversations revolve around his goals, his routines, his evolution. It's not that he doesn't ask about her, he does sometimes, but there's a subtle undercurrent that everything in his life, including her, is just part of a broader plan, one he doesn't fully explain. One that always seems to end with him moving on to the next version of himself, alone. There's no talk of long-term, no merging of visions, no we, just a quiet implication that she's here now, like a gym, a book, a city, but not necessarily forever. He may never say it directly, but she feels it. Every time he chooses to isolate instead of connect, every time he prioritizes self-discipline over intimacy, every time he speaks about the future and she's not in the sentence. At first, she tells herself it's just his nature, that he needs time, that he's just focused. But time passes and the feeling doesn't fade. It grows. She begins to feel like a well-placed bookmark, holding a spot until he's ready to flip the page. And the more she pours in, the more hollow it feels, because there's no reflection of her effort, just a man evolving. And a woman wondering if she's part of the destination or just another chapter he'll look back on someday with quiet detachment. That's what wears her down. Not neglect, not infidelity, not even conflict. Just the slow, creeping realization that no matter how present she is, she was never truly in the vision. She was just a phase, a beautiful, fleeting moment in a man's solo mission. And the worst part, he might never even realize he made her feel that way. Number 4, he doesn't need her emotionally and she feels it. There's something powerful about a man who doesn't rely on anyone emotionally. It's rare, it's attractive. But when that emotional independence starts feeling like emotional exclusion, the appeal wears off quickly. She doesn't want to be someone he depends on, she just wants to be someone he actually feels with. But with a Sigma male, that door often stays closed, bolted in fact. He doesn't ask for comfort, he doesn't vent, he doesn't share the weight of his bad days. He processes everything alone, like he's allergic to emotional intimacy. So she's left standing outside the fortress, wondering if she's supposed to just smile and wave while he battles his storms alone, or pretend it doesn't hurt that she's never invited inside. She starts noticing the little things. When she opens up emotionally, he listens but rarely mirrors. He stays calm, distant, thoughtful, like a therapist, not a partner. There's no real exchange, just her vulnerability landing in a quiet room, and it makes her feel small, unneeded, like an extra in a life that's already perfectly structured without her emotional input. It's not about being clingy or needy, it's about feeling wanted on a deeper level, like her presence softens him, anchors him, moves him in some way. But the Sigma male has trained himself to feel self-contained. He thinks needing someone is weakness, so he never lets himself lean. And the result? She feels like she's trying to form a bond with a ghost. He's there, but not really there. Over time, that emotional vacuum eats away at her. She stops sharing as much, stops reaching out, stops offering comfort because he never asked for it anyway. And that's when she realizes the truth. He doesn't just not need her emotionally, he doesn't even notice she's fading. To him, everything still looks peaceful. To her, it feels like dying quietly beside someone who calls it balance. And in the end, it's not his silence that breaks her. It's the fact that he never even noticed her emotional absence, because she never fit into the architecture of his fortress. She was just standing at the gate, hoping to be let in. Number 5, he's addicted to solitude, not her. There's something undeniably magnetic about a man who enjoys being alone. It gives off power, control, mystery, like he's so in tune with himself he doesn't chase anyone. And that's hot, until she realizes his solitude isn't just a preference, it's his first love. She's not competing with another woman. She's competing with the silence he worships like a religion. At first she admires it. He's grounded, calm, never clingy, never insecure. But slowly the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. When she wants to talk, he needs space. When she wants to spend time, he disappears to recharge. When she craves closeness, he retreats deeper into his own world. He doesn't cancel dates for emergencies. He cancels them because he wants to sit alone in his room and think. And no matter how kind or gentle he is, the message hits hard. His solitude comes first, always. What stings most isn't his desire to be alone. It's the way he never includes her in that peace. His quiet time is sacred, but she's never invited into that calm. It's not, let's enjoy the silence together. It's, I need to be away from everything, including you. And when that happens over and over again, she starts to feel like a background noise he occasionally tolerates, not someone he's truly drawn to. She tries to adapt, gives him space, waits patiently. But there's no reward, no emotional intimacy waiting on the other side, just a man who reappears when he's recharged, acting like nothing happened, while she's been left emotionally starving. Over time, his independence stops feeling impressive and starts feeling like rejection dressed up in stoicism. He never argues, he never clings, he never begs, but that's the problem. He never fights for her either. Because deep down, he doesn't need her to breathe. He already has everything he wants in his own company. She starts to realize she's not his peace. She's a disruption to it. And no woman wants to be treated like static noise in a man's perfectly quiet world. Eventually she stops knocking on the door of someone who never truly let her in. Because no matter how intriguing a man is, no woman wants to spend her time feeling like a visitor in her own relationship, especially when the ghost she's dating seems happiest when she's gone. Number 6, he's too inwardly focused to maintain momentum. He lives in his head like it's a luxury penthouse. Thoughts spiraling, strategies building, ideas running at full speed. And when she talks, he's listening, kind of. He hears her, but he's still halfway locked in his mental blueprint for life, tweaking goals, analyzing moves, strategizing his next evolution. On the surface, he's calm and composed, but underneath, he's fully immersed in his own internal world, and it shows. At first, she finds it impressive. He's deep, thoughtful, different. He's not like the loud guys who need constant validation or the emotionally reckless ones who live on impulse. But as the days pass, she starts to notice the relationship isn't actually moving. There are no new layers being built, no energy flowing, no growth together, just stillness, like a paused movie he never bothered to press play on again. He talks about big ideas, inner growth, the meaning of solitude, the power of self-awareness, all the things that sound brilliant on paper. But there's no spark behind it when it comes to her, no forward motion, no what are we doing next? It's all internal, his internal peace, his internal evolution, his internal checklist. And when she tries to light the fire under the relationship, it fizzles fast. Not because he doesn't like her, but because he's too caught up liking his own reflections. She starts to feel like a guest in a one-man think tank. The conversations are one-sided, introspective, and wrapped in calm detachment. He may be loyal and kind, but emotionally he's standing still while she's trying to move forward. And when a woman feels like she's pushing a relationship uphill alone, she starts asking herself the hard question. Is he building a future? Or is he just building a better version of himself without me in it? Relationships need momentum, passion, action, even the quiet ones. But he's so inwardly focused that he doesn't notice she's stopped trying to contribute to a story that never really included her voice. And one day she just stops responding altogether, not out of anger, but out of emotional exhaustion. Because you can't build with someone who's more committed to evolving within than connecting outward. Number 7, he's always fine, which feels like a lie. When a man constantly says he's fine, but never shows anything deeper, it doesn't give off strength, it gives off emotional brick wall energy. That's exactly what she starts feeling with the Sigma male. At first it seems like maturity. He doesn't explode, doesn't whine, doesn't need fixing, but then it becomes eerie. because no matter what's happening, a rough day, a weird mood, a clear emotional shift, he still says the same thing, "I'm fine." And it starts to feel fake, not because she wants him to fall apart, but because the emotional disconnect is too obvious to ignore. He doesn't share his fears, doesn't express hurt, and never shows anger, not even a flicker. It's like dating someone who's emotionally Teflon-coated. Nothing sticks, nothing moves him. And that makes her feel like she's not in a relationship with a man, but with a carefully guarded persona. She starts second-guessing everything. Is he sad? Is he overwhelmed? Is he quietly resenting her? She has no clue. And when she asks, she gets the same robotic calm. Over time, that calmness stops feeling comforting and starts feeling cold. Not stable, sterile. There's no vulnerability, no emotional intimacy, no shared human messiness. Just a locked vault with a smile on top. And the hardest part? She can't even argue with him about it. Because how do you confront someone who never admits to feeling anything? It's like trying to solve a puzzle with no pieces. So she starts pulling back emotionally too. Not out of pettiness, but self-preservation, because being vulnerable with someone who never opens up is like bleeding in front of a statue. You just end up feeling exposed and alone. Eventually she realizes something brutal. He's not fine. He's just emotionally unavailable in a very well-dressed way, and no matter how strong, independent, or self-contained a woman is, she still wants truth. She wants to feel like she knows the man she's with, not just what he wants her to see. When she can't access any real emotional ground with him, she stops trying to build anything on it. Because if everything's always fine, then nothing's ever honest. And no relationship survives in that kind of emotional fog. Number 8. She realizes he'll never fully let her in. No matter how deeply she invests, no matter how much of herself she opens up, there's always this invisible boundary between them, and no matter how much she tries, she can't cross it. It's like an emotional glass ceiling that she can feel but never shatter. At first, she blames herself. Maybe she's not being vulnerable enough. Maybe she's not offering enough. Maybe she's not understanding his need for space. But as time passes, it becomes clear. It's not her. It's him. He's always holding something back. That last 10%, the part of himself that could turn everything into something real, something raw. She knows it's there, just beyond reach, tantalizingly close, but always out of her grasp. It's the part of him that would allow her to see him not just as a puzzle to solve, but as a person who truly trusts her with his rawness, his flaws, his deepest fears. But no matter how she reaches for it, he pulls it away. He might let her in on some things, his surface-level thoughts, his plans, maybe even his daily struggles. But when it comes to the messy, unpolished bits of who he is, the things that make him human, vulnerable, real, they stay locked away behind walls he's built so high, so perfectly solid, she can't even see the cracks. She tries to get close. She tries to offer emotional intimacy, a safe space for him to be himself without judgment. But no matter how much she shows him she's there for him, he remains a fortress with no intention of letting her pass the gates. It's not that he doesn't care. He does in his own way. It's that his way is always a little too distant, a little too fine, a little too polished. He's learned how to keep his emotions controlled, compartmentalized. And she starts to realize that no matter what she does, he'll never let her see the whole of him. He might let her catch glimpses, but only in ways that are safe for him. Controlled, measured, distant. And at some point, the truth hits her like a wave. She'll never fully know him. Not in the way she wants to. Not in the way that makes her feel seen, heard, understood. There will always be this last 10% that's reserved for his own solitude, his own space. The intimacy she craves will always be just out of reach, and it starts to feel like a relationship with a shadow, not a person. She can keep giving, but eventually she realizes that without that final piece of connection, all she's left with is a constant feeling of being just slightly outside the circle. And that's when the emotional exhaustion sets in, because no matter how much she loves him, no matter how much she understands him, she knows deep down that she'll never fully have him. And that's a kind of loneliness that even the closest proximity can't fix. Number 9, he's too comfortable with her leaving. There's a moment that cuts deeper than any argument, deeper than any disagreement. It's when she realizes with a chilling clarity that if she walked away, he wouldn't chase her. He wouldn't beg her to stay. He wouldn't even put up a fight. Instead, he'd nod, maybe give her a quiet, "I understand," and let her go. And in that moment, It's not just his indifference that hits her. It's the fact that he's so comfortable with her leaving, it almost feels like he's been expecting it. It's not about him being cold or uncaring. It's about him being so inwardly solid, so emotionally detached, that he's built a life where her absence would barely ripple the surface. He's perfectly fine with solitude, perfectly fine with living without her. That's his default. And while this may seem like strength, it doesn't feel like freedom when it's the reality of your relationship. It feels like a slow, quiet erosion of your importance in his world. What's most gut-wrenching isn't the idea of leaving, it's the absence of that desperation, the kind that lets you know someone truly values you, that someone would fight to keep you in their life. But with him, there's no sign of that desperation. There's no, I can't imagine my life without you. No, please don't go. Instead, there's just acceptance, an almost philosophical detachment. It's as though his emotional self-sufficiency has reached a level where your presence or absence is irrelevant in the grand scheme of his life. And for her, that's a crushing realization. It's one thing to know that someone's okay without you, it's another to feel that they're too okay with it. It's as if he's constructed his life like a fortress, impenetrable and complete, where her leaving wouldn't cause a crack, just a quiet closing of the door. And as much as she admires his independence, this isn't what she signed up for. She wants to feel needed, wanted, like someone's emotional landscape would be noticeably different without her. Instead, she starts feeling like a temporary visitor in a place where she never truly belonged. The hardest part? It's not the thought of leaving. It's realizing that if she did, the silence that would follow wouldn't be filled with longing. It would just be another peaceful moment in his unshakable world. And in that realization, something inside her deflates, because it's a blow to her value in his life, a quiet, suffocating truth that maybe, just maybe, she's not as important as she thought. And no matter how independent she is, nobody wants to be the one who can walk away and never leave a mark. Number 10, she realizes she's a temporary guest in his world. At first, she thinks it's a privilege. She's in his world, part of his life, but it's also meticulously curated. He's reserved, elusive, and he lets her in just enough to keep things intriguing, but never enough to truly know him. And for a while it feels like excitement. It's mysterious, it's fresh. She feels like she's part of something deeper, something beyond the superficial. But over time, as she gets closer, something becomes painfully clear. She's not in his world the way she thought she was. She's a guest, a temporary one. He doesn't need her to be a permanent fixture. He's too focused on his own path, his own growth, his own direction. Relationships to him aren't about integration. They're about adding a little flavor to an otherwise well-managed existence. She starts to notice that everything in his life is compartmentalized, his work, his passions, his friendships. And she is just another folder, neatly filed away. She's part of his routine, yes, but she's not at the core of it. No matter how much she loves him, no matter how much she tries to prove herself, she's never going to be the focus of his world. He lets her in, but only on the edges, on the periphery of the life he's already built. His dreams, his personal growth, his goals, they're all things that exist without her. When she tries to get deeper, to root herself in his reality, she hits a wall. His life is so complete, so self-contained, that he doesn't need her to be a part of the foundation. She's just a guest who's allowed to stay in the guest room for a while, but there's no real plan to make her part of the home, and that's where the discomfort sets in. She's given so much of herself, but she realizes that he's never given her that full, unwavering spot in his world. She starts feeling like a temporary fixture, a season in his life, not the constant presence she had hoped to be. She's there, sure, but she's passing through, like an interlude in the otherwise untouched narrative of his life. Eventually she can't ignore the growing sense that she's never going to be the one who's built into the heart of his story. She's just a part of the external chapters, filling space until the next chapter of his life comes along. And the hardest part is the realization that it doesn't hurt him as much as it hurts her. Because while she's giving all of herself, he's just letting her pass by. Number 11, she's tired of translating his silence. At first, his quiet demeanor is a puzzle she's eager to solve. There's something alluring about his reserved nature, the way he doesn't spill his emotions with every word, the way his silence feels deep, like there's something mysterious hidden just beneath the surface. It's intriguing. It keeps her on her toes. She finds herself trying to read between the lines, deciphering his subtle cues and picking up on the smallest hints of emotion. But after a while, what once felt like a challenge starts to feel more like a chore. She begins to feel like she's the one doing all the emotional labor. Every conversation, every moment spent together becomes an exercise in translation. His silence isn't just quiet anymore. It's a barrier she's forced to navigate. His moods, instead of being open and expressed, are like puzzles that she has to decode. What does the silence mean? Is he upset, indifferent, content? It's exhausting at first, it's fun. The game of figuring him out, but as time goes on, that mystery, which once felt like an exciting layer to peel back, turns into emotional admin. She finds herself constantly asking, "What's wrong?" or "Are you okay?" only to receive vague one-word answers or a shrug. It's like trying to catch water with her bare hands, never quite getting a grip on what's really going on inside his mind. And the worst part? She starts feeling like she's the only one who's emotionally engaged in the relationship. It's like she's the one constantly filling in the gaps, making up for the emotional spaces he refuses to fill. She's putting in the effort to understand him, to get him to open up, but he's not giving anything back. The emotional connection she craves feels one-sided, and it's starting to wear her down. She wants him to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. She wants him to show up with vulnerability, to meet her halfway instead of leaving her to do all the emotional heavy lifting. But every time she gets close, he retreats back into that impenetrable silence. What was once attractive, that air of mystery, now feels like an emotional roadblock. And she's tired of trying to figure out if he's truly fine or if he's silently pushing her away. Tired of translating his unreadable moods into something that makes sense, only to find that it's always a guessing game. At some point, the emotional work becomes too much, and the mystery stops being sexy. It just becomes frustrating. Number 12, he doesn't fight for her, ever. When a Sigma male isn't invested in a relationship, he doesn't see the point in fighting for it. He's not one for drama, and he's definitely not about to start a battle for someone or something that doesn't meet his standards of peace and stability. It's not that he's indifferent, it's that he's emotionally self-sufficient to the point where fighting for something or someone feels almost foreign to him. He doesn't engage in heated arguments, push for reconciliation, or chase after affection. He's calm, collected, and sometimes that's exactly what she finds frustrating. She wants to see passion. She wants to feel like she matters enough for him to fight for her. But when problems arise or their connection starts to wane, he doesn't make a move to salvage it. He simply shrugs and continues with his life, as though the relationship is just another part of his existence to be left behind if it doesn't fit into his peace. He doesn't see a need to chase. He doesn't see a need to prove his commitment. For him, the best relationships are effortless, requiring little maintenance. And while that can be admirable, it leaves her questioning if he ever truly cared enough to fight when things got hard. The issue isn't that he doesn't care, but that he doesn't express it in the ways she might expect. His detachment can come off as emotional abandonment, and over time that silence wears her down. She's not asking for drama, but a simple fight. To know that he's willing to make an effort, to care enough to make sure things work out. But instead she's met with a wall of indifference, making her feel like she's just another passing chapter in his already full book. Eventually she realizes that while he values his peace, he's not going to do anything to fight for the connection they once had, leaving her with nothing but unanswered questions and a growing sense of emotional withdrawal. In the end, what draws women to Sigma males, their mystery, independence, and emotional autonomy, can also be what pushes them away. It's a delicate dance between the allure of a man who doesn't need constant validation and the isolation that comes with being on the outside, looking in. While mystery can be magnetic, it can also become a heavy weight, one that leaves her questioning her place in his world. When the silence becomes too loud, the detachment too overwhelming, and the emotional effort one-sided, the romance fades, and what was once intriguing becomes suffocating. Sigma males, for all their depth and complexity, often find themselves caught in a paradox. Their inner world is so rich, so self-contained, that they forget how vital it is to let someone in, to share, to connect. And when that door stays shut too long, the woman who once admired their strength and solitude will eventually step away, not out of anger or resentment, but out of self-preservation. Because at the end of the day, she wants to feel seen, heard, and cherished, not like a temporary visitor in a life that will continue with or without her. In relationships, intimacy isn't about withholding. It's about making space for someone else to exist, to be a part of your world, and for them to feel that they matter, not just as a footnote, but as a co-author of the story you're both writing. And when that balance is lost, the attraction, the connection, the bond, it begins to fade. So while a Sigma male's allure may lie in his independence and mystery, the woman who truly wants to stay by his side needs more than just the allure of solitude. She needs presence. She needs warmth. She needs to feel like she's more than just a passing phase in the story of his life. Because if she's not essential to his world, if she's only a temporary guest, she'll quietly slip away, seeking something more real, more reciprocal, and ultimately more fulfilling. If you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who gets it, someone who understands the complexities that come with navigating relationships, especially with a Sigma male. So, if you found this breakdown intriguing, insightful, or even a little eye-opening, don't forget to show some love. Hit that subscribe button because we've got more content that'll dive into the deeper, often unspoken truths about relationships, attraction, and all things that keep us hooked. Like what you heard, give it a thumbs up. If you've got your own thoughts or experiences to share, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you know someone who's been wondering why things just aren't clicking in their own Sigma encounter, go ahead and share this with them. Let's spread the conversation. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.